Good afternoon, Virgo. Real quick, if you're here right now, there's something you need to hear. And it might not be comfortable, but necessary things rarely are. Let's dive in. Listen, I need you to really listen right now because there's something happening in your love life, in your connections, in the energy between you and someone specific. And you're not seeing it clearly, not because it's hidden, not because it's vague, not because the signs aren't there, but because you're looking at it through the lens of your past instead of the reality of your present. And that lens, it's distorting everything. Stay with me, because what I keep picking up on is there's something real in front of you, something genuine, something that has the potential to be exactly what you've been saying you want. But you're so busy protecting yourself from what hurt you before that you're missing what's actually showing up now. Have you been feeling this? This tension between wanting to trust and being afraid to? Let me know in the comments if this is already resonating. Because here's what I'm sensing. There's someone whose energy around you is consistent, whose presence is steady, whose actions, when you actually look at them objectively, match their words. But you keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. You keep looking for the red flag. You keep analyzing every little thing they say or do, searching for proof that they're going to hurt you the way you've been hurt before. And I get it. I understand why. You've been through things. You've trusted people who didn't deserve it. You've opened your heart to connections that ended up being less than what they promised. And those experiences, they taught you to be careful, to guard yourself, to question everything. But here's the problem. That protection that was necessary then, it might be sabotaging you now. Does this feel true? Drop a comment if you're recognizing this pattern, because what I keep sensing is you're testing this person, maybe not consciously, maybe not in obvious ways, but you're testing them, pushing them away slightly to see if they'll stay, creating distance to see if they'll close it, looking for reasons to disqualify them before they can disappoint you. And they're passing the tests, they're staying, they're showing up, they're being consistent even when you're being difficult, but you're not letting that in. You're not allowing yourself to see it. You're not permitting yourself to believe that maybe, just maybe, this one is different. And I know why. Because if you let yourself believe it's real, if you let yourself trust it, if you let yourself hope, then it could hurt if it ends. And you've been hurt enough. You've been disappointed enough. You've been let down by people who seemed real at first, only to reveal themselves as something else later. So you're protecting yourself preemptively by not letting this connection get too close, by not allowing it to matter too much. But here's what you need to understand. Protection isn't the same as wisdom. Sometimes what looks like self-protection is actually self-sabotage. Have you been pushing away something good because you're scared it won't last? Let me know in the comments. Because here's what I keep picking up on about this specific connection. This person, they're not playing games with you. They're not sending mixed signals. They're not keeping you guessing. They're not treating you like an option while they, explore other possibilities. They're showing up consistently, genuinely, and every time they do, every time they prove themselves to be solid, reliable, present, you find a new reason to doubt them. Not because they've given you reason to doubt, but because Your past has trained you to expect disappointment. And that training, it's 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 making you see threats where there aren't any. It's making you interpret neutral actions as red flags. It's making you question sincerity that's actually real. And if you keep doing that, if you keep looking at this connection through the lens of your wounds instead of the reality of what's actually happening, you're going to push away something that could have been exactly what you needed. Does this resonate? Comment below if this is landing, because I want to be really clear about something. I'm not saying you should ignore your instincts. I'm not saying you should override legitimate concerns. I'm not saying you should trust blindly just because someone's being nice to you. But there's a difference between healthy discernment and trauma-based hypervigilance. There's a difference between noticing actual red flags and creating problems that don't exist because you're expecting them to exist. And right now, with this person, with this connection, I'm not picking up on actual problems. I'm picking up on your fear of problems. I'm sensing your anticipation of pain that hasn't happened yet. I'm feeling your resistance to letting this be easy because you've learned that when things feel easy at first, they get hard later. But what if that pattern doesn't apply here? What if this person is actually showing you who they are, and who they are is safe? What if their consistency isn't a performance that will drop once they've secured you, but actually just how they operate? What if you're so focused on protecting yourself from potential future hurt that you're creating present hurt by not allowing yourself to receive what's being offered? Think about that for a second. Let it sink in, because here's what I need you to hear. You can't control whether this works out long term. You can't guarantee that this person will never hurt you or disappoint you or change in ways that make the connection unsustainable. None of us get those guarantees, ever. But what you can control is whether you're present to what's actually happening right now, whether you're giving this connection a fair chance to be what it could be, whether you're meeting their consistency with your own openness instead of with suspicion. And right now, you're not. Right now, you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, ready to run the moment things feel too real, too vulnerable, too risky. And I get it. Running feels safer than staying when staying has hurt you before. But here's what running costs you. It costs you the possibility of experiencing something different. It costs you the chance to be surprised by someone who's actually solid. It costs you the healing that comes from having a good experience replace a bad one. Drop a heart in the comments if you're feeling this. Because what I want you to consider is, what if your job isn't to protect yourself from this person, but to show up honestly and see what happens? What if, instead of testing them, you just trusted the evidence that's already in front of you? What if, instead of waiting for proof that they're going to hurt you, you acknowledge the proof that they're trying not to? I know that feels vulnerable. I know that feels like you're setting yourself up, but vulnerability is the only path to real connection. You can't have deep love without deep risk. You can't have authentic partnership without genuine openness. You can't receive what you say you want while keeping your walls up to protect yourself from getting it. And this person, they're not asking you to be reckless. They're not asking you to ignore your needs or override your boundaries or pretend your past didn't happen. They're just asking you to see them, not your ex, not the person who lied to you, not the one who left, them as they actually are, based on what they're actually doing. Can you do that? Can you give them the gift of being seen for who they are instead of being judged for who someone else was? Comment below if you're willing to try. Because here's what I keep sensing about what happens if you can shift this. If you can release the hypervigilance just enough to be present, if you can meet their consistency with your own trust, if you can let this be good without immediately bracing for it to turn bad, this connection has real potential. Not perfect, not problem-free, not guaranteed to last forever, but real and solid and worth investing in instead of sabotaging. And you deserve that. You deserve to experience what it's like to be with someone who shows up. You deserve to know what consistency feels like when you're not constantly testing it. You deserve to be loved by someone who's actually capable of loving you the way you need to be loved. But you have to let them, you have to choose to see what's real instead of what you're afraid might be true. You have to risk being wrong about them being good instead of only risking being wrong about them being bad. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments, because your past taught you valuable lessons. It taught you what you don't want, what you won't tolerate, what red flags actually look like. But don't let those lessons become prison that keeps you from recognizing when something different shows up. Don't let your wounds become so loud that you can't hear when someone's being genuine. Don't let fear of being hurt again cost you the chance to be loved properly this time. You've done the work, you've healed, you've learned. Now it's time to let that healing create space for something new instead of just creating thicker walls. This person in your life or coming into your life, they're not your enemy. They're not your past. They're possibility, and possibility requires you to be present, to show up, to try, to risk. Even when risk feels terrifying, especially when risk feels terrifying, because the best things in life, they all require risk. Love requires risk. Trust requires risk. Intimacy requires risk. And you can either spend your life avoiding risk and avoiding the possibility of pain, but also avoiding the possibility of joy. Or you can choose to be brave, to stay open, to give this a real chance instead of a guarded one. The power is yours. It always has been. Take what resonates, release what doesn't, trust yourself, but please, please consider that maybe the thing you're most afraid of isn't this person hurting you. Maybe it's discovering that they won't hurt you and having to face how much you've been hurting yourself by not believing good things can happen to you. Think about it and let me know in the comments, are you ready to lower the walls just enough to find out? Take care.